So those that will not make it to be with us today, they can participate as well and say what we're going to discuss. I'm Katerina, I will be the host and moderator of today. Hanna Gerta is also here as a co-host to help you with any technical difficulties you might encounter. And I would like to start with a small introduction about the topic. We all know that universities are key actors for social cohesion and have a great impact on society through research, education, innovation, and technology. Climate change, biodiversity, quality education, gender equality, migration, access to health services are problems that are interconnected and look for holistic solutions and approaches as it affects today's society in different levels and with multiple ways. This webinar today intends to shed light on solutions regarding how universities are the pillars of enlightenment, education, and action, and how they can address sustainable development by discovering and analyzing solutions top-down, but also bottom-up. We will have also the opportunity to hear the steps that Tallinn University has taken already to address sustainable development, how we perceive here in Tallinn University the sustainable development itself, and what are the future steps. As we are a small team of people today, I would like to, before presenting today's speakers, to give the opportunity to the participants to write in the chat for 1 minute almost why it is important for you to be here today in that webinar. I will pose also the question in the chat, so you have about 1 minute to answer.
Okay, did you give the word to me, Katerina, or no?
No, it was an open call for all the participants if they would like to actually describe and say why it is important for them to be today and why it's important for sustainable development to be addressed.
Well, first of all, good afternoon, everyone listening. My name is Helen Sooväli-Sepping. I work in Tallinn University, and I've been working a little bit more than a year as Vice-Rector for Sustainable Development. Sustainable development in Estonia has been a rather topical issue already since 1995, 1996, when there were several regulations that were adapted on the governmental level. However, we haven't seen the topic sustainable development itself as a topic for discussion in the open in the public in Estonian media until, let's say, last year, when we heard first steps about European Commission adapting a new budget for the new principles for the budget for the next 7 years for the whole Europe, and it included a phrase, Green Deal. And after that, it seemed to me, at least, that everybody started to talk about green issues in Estonian media. And I'm not here referring that green issues were not talked about in Estonian media before. Those of you who don't follow Estonian media, we have so-called forest war going on for the past 2 years, where different stakeholders can't meet a consensus in terms of how to manage Estonian forests. And there are also questions about a huge pulp factory and issues about Estonian Estonian, let's say, how is it, ecosystem services and so forth. But sustainable development as a topic is arbitrary, and it's still arbitrary in media, and is usually seen as something green and not something social, to put it in a very simple terms, because sustainable development itself targets both social issues and greenery issues and economic issues, and how to find the balance between those three. So when I stepped in as Vice-Rector for Sustainable Development, I thought that it is vitally important to, when we talk about sustainability, is to talk about the social side of the sustainability. And that means well-being. Well-being has been on my table as the topical issue, and as just after I stepped in to my position, COVID situation started in the whole world. Then well-being and mental well-being became more important than ever. So well-being has been on top of my agenda when developing the first principles for sustainable development, since personal, mental, physical well-being are the cornerstones of the society. When we now turn into sort of what has been done in Tallinn University for the past year in terms of sustainable development, then I would say there are small things and big things. But the big things are the strategic issues that make the university turn to a more sustainable way of let's say life. Whereas there are small things that were targeted towards students and teachers' well-being, but also small things concerned with a physical campus. So first of all, I'm very proud that we last year, or it was actually 2019, before I stepped in as Vice-Rector, Tallinn University got the city campus got sort of open public space where to meet. And before that public space, where now it's a nice place to come together and have even open lectures, open air lectures there. There was a parking lot for 46 cars, and it was a very strategic and painful decision that was made by the rectorate that we get rid of those parking spaces, because those of you who live in Estonia might understand why was it so painful. Estonians are sort of what we call it, like we believe in cars. We have a car religion. It's car is the synonym for well-being or human right. And everybody wants a parking space, which is of course for free. So taking away one aspect of material well-being was met with certain criticism, but nevertheless, it was a strategic decision in order to make people think more how much cars do we actually need in a campus, and who is to use the parking places, because Tallinn University still owns parking places. And so before that, we also made Tallinn University mobility plan, and that mobility plan is a document that shows or maps how many bicycle parking places we need for the campus. Also, we looked how well is the university campus accessible by public transport, and what are the needs for the students and for the university staff to make it more accessible with bicycles and on foot. And we have also sent this document to the city council in order to make the city council understand that we are talking about thousands of people moving from university campus to different parts of Tallinn, and that means a significant movement of cars, public transport demand, and demand for bicycle lanes. So these expectations and these needs were sent to city council. Well, that doesn't mean that city council has paid attention to that situation as of now, but still, in every place I represent Tallinn University, I always say that Tallinn University, as the largest organization in the city center, with its 7,500 people, is a huge mobility a challenge for the whole city. So if we change, or if we make it more accessible for the pedestrians and for accessible in the way that it's nicer to walk to Tallinn University than now, and more accessible by bicycles, we can reduce the number of cars in the city center significantly. So this is something that I did already before I became Vice-Rector, and I'm still using this document, and we have now a plan together with three other universities in Tallinn: Tallinn Technical University, Estonian Academy of Arts, and the Music Academy, to make a proposal for Tallinn City Council to create some sort of, let's say, academic bicycle highway that would connect all the universities together. So it will be sort of official paper for the mayor of Tallinn, from the rectors of universities, to draw attention to the need of bicycle lanes. And I'm working on that document right now, and hopefully we can hand in the the document by the end of April, and with that we would like to, of course, gain attention in the media. And what could be the best time? Of course, before elections. We have elections this autumn, so this is a big thing that we're working on. And here again, it's important to notice that that we are talking about tens of thousands of people, and it's not only that can then use that highway. And it would connect to then Mustamäe with the city center. We are talking about the students, we're talking about the staff, but we're also talking about the schools that are on the way from the city center to Mustamäe. So fingers crossed. I hope that this is something that draws a lot of attention, because we need good bicycle roads. So this is like one big thing we have been working on. The small things that well, the other big things that I have been dealing with in Tallinn University is working sustainable development principles for the next 2 years. And this is a document, again, regulation, a sort of bureaucratic document that would give the guidelines in four areas for the university. First, in terms of research, then the second is studies, then the third is the organization, the well-being of the organization, meaning the well-being of Tallinn University, and then it's the impact for the society. So these are the big areas that I see where some sort of activities are needed to be sort of strategically worked through in Tallinn University. So when I maybe open up a little bit to those areas, then we have already decided on the highest level of Tallinn University. The Senate has decided or acknowledged that we have added a paragraph for our study regulation, where it says that every student in Tallinn University would get the knowledge and skills regarding sustainable development by the end of the study program. And it's also in and it's meant to be both in the bachelor level and master level, which means that sustainable development as a topic will be integrated into all study programs, whether it will be a course or a thematic course. It is up to the student study coordinators to decide. So, but this is like the first step. This declaration in the study regulation, and after that we will be applying this regulation into all study programs. This is something that will happen, I guess, in the next year. So it's like a very big change, and let's hope that it will work out fine. When it comes to research, then we see that research is very much connected to project applications, and here we see that we need on the university level more cooperation between institutes, and so we have also on the regulation level targeted sustainable development as one of the important topics for the university, which means that as the researchers applying for university funding, research funding, they should meet. One of the criteria they should meet is sustainable development, and it's also written in the regulations. When it comes to the organization of the well-being of the organization as the third topic, then the organization of the by that we mean physical well-being and mental well-being. And the first thing I did when I stepped in as Vice-Rector was to hire psychologists for the university staff, since the pandemic just started, and we had a feeling in the rectorate that that since it's a huge change for the university staff to switch from real life teaching to distance teaching, which meant quick shift in making the slides and extra work. Then we were fearing the burnout phenomenon. The students have two psychologists working at Tallinn University, but the staff didn't have any psychologists available. And the feedback so far I've heard from the psychologist is that she has been really welcomed among our staff, and they are happy to share their thoughts in a very smooth, very flexible way through Skype or Zoom, without needing to turn to your personal doctor. And we know it's hard to get the time for the personal doctor right now. So it's an additional benefit for the university staff. So mental well-being is one issue, and we also work with different courses that would help the university staff to cope with this transition from reality or real life to virtual life. So this is also something that we have started already. And also by the well-being, we have been thinking of the working load of the university staff. We know that burnout comes quickly when people work too much, and sometimes we as university staff don't even understand that we might work too much over, and that is something that needs to be not regulated but talked about, since we know, for example, that mental health is very dependent on sleep. And we know that we as university teachers work late at nights, so they are small issues, but they pile up into big issues like mental health. Another thing is physical health, and by physical health, I have had thoughts how to start sort of how do I say, how to make the university move. we have in our campus, we have aerobics and yoga and basketball and whatnot. But how to make people move on the daily basis, not just sitting in the offices, is another question, and that is the key for mental health as well. And how to make people move so that they don't need to sweat, or they don't need to go to extra gymnastics. One way of doing that is through walking seminars or walking meetings, or walking webinars, for example. So I have talked to my colleagues who work on the recreational management, for example, and proposed that we mark down or map the lanes for meetings in near the university, so that we can go to Kadrioru Park, for example, or to some other places near the seaside, where people can go in small groups and just walk and talk. So to encourage people to move and get out from the university building. That's a sort of a small proposal, which I hope that also the students will pick up, instead of sitting, because sitting has become a huge pandemic in the whole world. We have never sat so much in the whole history of the civilization as we do now. So it's quite a significant fact, and that has a strong influence on our physical health and mental health. And so the final thing I wanted to target was the impact for the society. So I guess in Estonia, we are just starting to realize in the past maybe 2 years as university researchers and university teachers that we have the responsibility to target the issues that are burning in the society, that we can't only theorize, and we can't only say what we think are important for the society, but we have to listen to the society and pick up the issues that are important to solve in the society. And for that, I have called for making a stronger link between the research and the communication. And research communication is a huge topic in other universities, but not in Estonia so far. So to have let's say more courses for the researchers in order to become capable of talking about the scientific problems or the scientific solutions is another skill that the university people need to gain. And another important block here is how to make sustainable development heard through this science that we do, because there's always we have a knowledge in the sustainable development, but we don't make the link that this actually is sustainable development we are talking about, or we don't put it in the terms of sustainable development. So how to make the bridge and how to connect our scientific problems and solutions into the real world is another challenge that I want to target in the future and make it through courses and discussion groups for the university staff. So this is basically like a small, very quick overview of what we have been doing in terms of the sustainable development principles for the next 2 years. And of course, besides of that, we have the garbage, the big garbage, how to sort the garbage at the university. So it's sort of a big, small issue that that we have been trying to target. And also we are, for example, getting rid of water bottles. We have those huge water bottles in the resting areas for the university staff, where people can go and take a cup of water, and instead of that we want to draw attention to the tap water, which is as clean as the water from the plastic bottle. So we want to get rid of those big plastic bottles, and we want to get rid of the plastic cups. And for that, we have also we have just last week received new foldable cups for Tallinn University, in order to easily carry your own cup with you. And there are also small other initiatives that we have been planning. But I will maybe stop now, and you have a possibility to ask some questions, or maybe we have questions already in the chat.
Thank you, Helen, very much for your presentation and get into what sustainability is for Tallinn University and what has been done already and what are the plans. So far, in the chat, I don't see any questions, but maybe if somebody wants to ask, just raise the hand or just pop out and ask. I already have some questions, but I would like not to go first. So if somebody else, please feel free.
No?
Okay, I can go ahead. I have a question regarding the mobility, because it was a hot topic discussed the previous months together with the City Council of Tallinn, and specifically in the new arrival city center council of Tallinn, regarding the construction about the bike lanes, and especially in the city center. And as you said, Tallinn University is in a very crucial and central point of Tallinn, but at the same time, as a student that doesn't drive, I could say that regarding public transportation is quite nicely accessible. And it's very nice that we get rid of some parking spaces, but on the other hand, I believe that the fact that Tallinn University is trying to introduce also more international students, and mostly from hot countries, to actually build and have some more bike lanes and have construction for bikes. Yes, it's great, but also somehow how we can introduce the transition of for people that are not willing to bike to actually start using that. That's the first. And the second thing is it actually this intervention for the students or the staff who's already coming at the university with cars instead of bikes, and how to motivate them?
Well, when it comes to your first question, I personally see that there's more interest in the scooters or electric scooters right now. So I guess this is like one thing we should bear in mind when designing the bike lanes, that we can use the scooters there as well. We have been looking for the charging, like let's say if you buy your own scooter, then you would need a charger for that as well. But we haven't so far found any universal chargers, so that you can, because different companies have different chargers. So far we have been working together with Estonian Academy of Arts, and we haven't found any. But I see that scooters have a future in that sense, and also electrical bicycles. They might be also something that might be sort of a comfortable way of moving around. We know that when you use a normal bicycle, then a person would be willing to cycle up to 6 kilometers. When you use an electric bicycle, then a person would be willing to cycle about 20 kilometers. So actually, the people who are driving from, I don't know, from Mustamäe, even they have a possibility to use the electric bike if we have decent bicycle roads. So to answer your question, how to make international students to bike if they are not used to do that before, then I guess it's through the sort of through introducing one way is scooters, but the other thing is the sort of social conformism. So that if everybody's doing that, then you would like to do that as well. That's how it works in Holland, for example. Your second question was about the university stuff. Can you remind me that once again?
Yeah, mostly that the people who are actually driving or commuting with cars are mostly staff, either academic, technical, or administrative, than students. Because it's also very well connected regarding public transportation.
Mm-hmm.
So if there are plans, or besides taking away the parking positions, or how to actually motivate them to switch to cycling.
Mm-hmm. Well, right now it's very hard to motivate. We need the bicycle lanes. That's the key. That's all we can do. And I mean, another thing is that we know in Tallinn, for example, that about 50% of all the rides in the city center are not more than 3 kilometers. So the people who are driving are not driving tens of kilometers in the city center, and that can go also for the university staff. So there is an easy alternative, and that is in normal conditions, that is public transport or walking, for example. Because when we talk about sustainable city, then we talk about 5-minute city and 15-minute city, and 15-minute cities is a walkable city. And by 15 minutes, you can reach from Tallinn University to Vabaduse väljak, for example, easily going for walking, not rushing.
Nice.
But we also have a very good connection with the tram to the city center. But yes, I'm a big fan of walking because walking is the easiest way to have physical exercise. But as of now, we have very uncomfortable roads for walking, since it's just next to the car highways, and there is a lot of dust, and not only that, it's also noise, and noise is a big issue in Tallinn, which has gained far too little attention. It is in terms of pollution, it's as bad as the air in the city center. So yes, first of all, we need the infrastructure, and then we can talk about people walking and cycling. I wouldn't walk along the Narva road in April, because it's the air quality is really bad, and not talking about the noise.
Nice. Thank you very much for the input. And we have one more question, and then we can move forward to the next speaker. So Helen is asking, where does Tallinn University see itself in 5 years' time in terms of being a greener or more sustainable university? And what are the target goals that are about to be achieved or addressed?
Well, that's a question for the next rector that steps into steps into his position in 1 month's time. But as I see it personally, is that we have my vision is that we are a package-free university, which means that we don't have plastic packages anymore, plastic cups that's included. I really want to see the university package free, and that could be a norm in the university. And I've been working slowly but steadily also with the canteens in terms of that. A healthy university in terms of food, for example, healthier food, more local food in the canteens. And more physically active staff and university students, enjoying the park in the vicinity, Kadrioru Park, much more than we do it today. And simply to have much more a responsibility as persons in front of the society, showing the way how sustainable development could be integrated in one's way of life, and also in the society as a whole. So be more socially responsible as we are today, because the change starts from us and not from somebody on top telling you what to do.
Thank you very much. And as you mentioned, the package-free university, I was very happy to participate last semester in the Topsivaba Elu project, like university without single-use coffee cups. And Liisa Puusep is also here with us, that she was my supervisor in that. And she posted also a question in the chat that I would like also to address, because I find it quite important, about how we are going to contribute sustainable development via our courses. What will be the first steps to do, and how to design courses and so on? What are the steps there?
Well, right now we are working. We have a working group that goes through these issues as of now, and we had even a discussion today in the rectorate about that. Whether it's through courses or through sort of thematic courses. It's an open question as of now, and we don't have any guidelines as of now. But I do hope that I would come up with recommendations in 1 month's time, something that we can discuss in the university. But I personally see that the more the more possibilities, the better, in terms of more selective courses, more compulsory, let's say compulsory courses, or topics in compulsory courses, and also Elu projects could be one of the opportunities where this could be targeted much more than now as a compulsory component, for example. So these are sort of my own thoughts. How it will be it will be digested then with the new Vice-Rector for study area in in the next months, I guess. But I definitely want to come up with my working group's suggestions just in 1 month's time, let's say. We're right now gathering best examples from Europe to see how things work and how they not work and so on.
Nice. Thank you very much for the input and answering all the questions. And I guess we can move to our next speaker. And I would like to welcome Inês Cabrita, the chair of the group Université Libre de Bruxelles. I hope my French are quite okay, so you understand what I'm talking about. Inês Cabrita represents Unica Green, which is a network that supports universities to implement environmental policies. So Inês, welcome, and the floor is yours.
Thanks, Katerina. So hi everyone, thanks for inviting me today. So I'm a project manager at the Free University of Brussels, so Université Libre de Bruxelles, and I work in the environmental office. I work mainly on the climate action plan and mobility projects. And I'm the chair of the Unica Green and SDGs working group. I've been the chair for a year, and probably it will stop this year. So first I would like to introduce Unica. So Unica is the network of universities from the capitals of Europe. So it was created in 1990, and it's made up of 55 universities from 38 capitals. So the Unica seeks really to facilitate international collaboration between its members. It's a place where members can reflect together on the needs for strategic change. And the group Unica Green and SDGs focuses on sustainability. So this group was established in 2011, and initially it focused more on environmental issues. But recently we started to widen our activities to meet the more comprehensive concept really of sustainability. And that's also why the name changed from Unica Green to Unica Green and SDGs, referring to the Sustainable Development Goals of the United Nations. So this group brings together sustainability coordinators, vice-rectors, and it's a place where we can exchange good practices. So here I'm sharing with you our pledge. So basically it says that we recognize that as universities, we have a unique role to increase knowledge, education, and also to be exemplary in our management practices. And so the goals of the working group are to share good practices, to deepen collaboration, to be a reference point of sustainability for the rest of the network, and to work closely with strategic partners, as for example, the policymakers, communities, etc. So how do we do that? So we have, so those are the main activities. So we have workshops. So before the COVID crisis, we used to have one workshop a year in a different university. So it was really a good opportunity to meet colleagues and like for 1 week to think a bit outside of the box, not to be every time in our 2 days work. So I think we had about 10 workshops, and now because of the COVID crisis, we switched to webinars. So over the last year, we had a webinar about the challenges and the opportunities of the COVID crisis for sustainability. We had 2 about climate action, and recently one about civic engagement. And we also enable direct contact with members. So one added value of this group is that we are universities that have similar contexts about the same size, about the locations. Usually we are urban universities, so we face the same challenges, and so the idea is to exchange, to help each other to implement our strategies. So the scope of our activities are really So the activities are driven by members' interests and priorities. So here you can see the results of a survey that was done last year to see what are the hot topics for the members. So the first one was climate, then mobility, then other environmental campus management practices, then energy, then civic public engagement, and education for sustainable development. Before moving on really to the question, how can universities contribute to sustainable development? I would like to stress the importance of sharing a common definition of sustainability. And here I'm taking the example of my university, so ULB, and I'm sharing with you the definition that we use now. So basically it's, let's say, an inclusive definition. It integrates both environmental and social aspects, so as Helen was mentioning before, and everything related to transition and global challenges. We believe that this vision fits in a strong vision of sustainability. So a strong vision is, we say that in the sense that the circles, environment, society, and economy are integrated. So it means that without a viable ecosystem, the social and economic systems won't be able to exist. And this vision is also translated by this waving cake with the SDGs, where it shows that the biosphere is the foundation of economies and societies and the basis for all other sustainability development goals. And so this is opposed to the weak vision that was more common and that was conceptualized in the 90s. And in this vision, there is a balance between economy, environment, and society. And so everything was about finding sustainable solutions to balance everything. Yeah, so now regarding the question, how can universities contribute to sustainability? As Helen said, the university needs to integrate it into its core missions and into operations and governance. So it means integrating sustainability into education, encourage and reinforce research on sustainability issues, integrate it in operations and governance, and support communities. And now I'm going to give some examples for each domain. Some of them I think Helen has already mentioned, but yeah, we can talk about it in a bit more detail in the questions. So for education, yeah, it can be implementing a program offering help to academic staff to develop new sustainability courses or to incorporate sustainability into existing courses. This is usually the easier solutions to start with. Then you can develop interfaculty seminars or develop seeds programs. So this is an example from UBC. So it's the University of British Columbia. So they have what they call the seeds program. It's a program that creates opportunities for students to work on critical societal issues. And these programs put together students, staff, faculty, and for example, the city. So the idea here is that the students really work on a challenge that the university or the city is facing. And we have done some of these in our university. And an example is we had students from the Faculty of Architecture working on the question how to improve the accessibility of our campus to wheelchair users, for example. Now, regarding research, so here the idea will be to reinforce the research on sustainability issues, breaking the silos between the faculties. A good starting point can be to list and all the staff and the research centers working on sustainability issues, and for example, create a platform to display it so people can start to make the links. It can be to implement a program encouraging staff to conduct sustainability research, or implement policies that give a positive recognition to multidisciplinary research. Another good example also from UBC is to use campuses as living lab for sustainability. So here the idea is to use our facilities as a test bed for students and researchers so they can test innovation solutions, both on technical or societal aspects. And then these solutions can be replicated in, at a larger scale. Now, regarding operations, we can work on reducing our environmental footprint to be exemplary, for example, by adopting a climate action plan that really focuses on reducing the CO2 emissions, working on energy, mobility. Also, I think a lot of our members have been working on is the business travel policy, so to encourage people to fly less. Working on waste, on biodiversity, on procurement, and also on awareness. Operations is also about taking care of our community, both students and staff. So as Helen mentioned, the well-being and health, also diversity and inclusion. That's just the topics. And for governance, the challenge here would be to have effective governance structures that ensure that sustainability percolates through the institution. It can be a sustainable board, it can be a vice-rectorate, it can be administrative staff. It really depends on the university. Also, sustainability is really about it's a continuing process and a continuing improvement. So I like to refer to this plan, do, check, act circle. So we start by having a strategic plan with objectives, then we act, then we check. So it's really important to have monitoring with indicators, and finally we evaluate and we start again the circle. Also, it's important to report and get external recognition. There are some initiatives like STARS that stands for Sustainability Tracking, Assessment and Rating System. So it's a self-reporting framework that was built for universities, and so it helps to measure our sustainability performance for all the areas, so education, research, etc. There is also the Times Higher Education Impact Ranking that uses the SDGs as a framework to measure social impact. So these are just two examples, but yeah. Regarding community external leadership, we can advocate for public policies to support campus sustainability, but also to support sustainability at a more regional, global level. We can enable student engagement in community service, offer continuing education courses, share good practices with peers. So here, the ideas really are, to be a university that is linked to the city, to the people. Okay, so then there are some challenges to implement sustainability. First is to share a common vision across the institution. Also, it's a transversal and global commitment. So yeah, it needs to percolate through every service, through every faculty in the university. It's also a switch of paradigm. So it means that you might experience some rejects at the beginning, and you need a critical mass, so it becomes the new normal, let's say. Also, allocations of resources and limited funding can also be challenging in universities. Also, community engagement process is not always easy, but it's really important, so people are more committed. Regarding the strategies to implement sustainability, here I'm sharing with you the results of a World Cafe of Unica a few years ago. So the participants found it was important to have both top-down and bottom-up approach to work on small projects and on more strategic, more complicated projects, to be creative, to seize the opportunity when it comes, to work with the usual suspects. That's we call people usual suspects, those we know are already committed and are ready to help. Use the students, implement student task forces, use collective intelligence, and also be patient and be ready when let's say the university is ready to move. And finally, just to finish with the opportunities, so the Sustainable Development Goals from the UN, let's say, offer a framework to collaborate and to report. The climate strikes before the COVID crisis brought a new light on climate action and more globally on sustainability. And also sustainability can be used as something uniting and building bridges between partners and matters, like, for example, bringing science and ethics together. And that's everything I wanted to share. So I'm going back here.
Oh, we still see your screen.
Okay, I'm going to close it. There.
Perfect. Thank you very much. It was very short, but it had everything included. And it's time for questions. Whoever has a question, please show up and ask. I think, at least from my perspective, it was very enlightening and very encouraging to see how many things you do and how clear it is and how many participants are actually in the network. From my perspective, what I would like to ask is mostly what kind of challenges you see as a pattern to appear from your participants from each university regarding addressing sustainability and SDGs.
The common challenges, I think, are, what can I say, that it's a transversal issue. So you need a lot of people sometimes in the university to work on the subject. If I can give an example, for example, for example, if you work on mobility, you need the human resources people, you need the facility people, you need the the green office. So you need a lot of people to make things change. So to engage people, I think it's the challenge.
If I can add up, it's the challenge is that people are environmentally conscious, or sustainability consciousness is in very different levels. So what is normal to one person is absolutely abnormal to another person, and that coming up to common understanding is work that that needs to be done years and years, and a significant amount of my time goes to answering questions through emails like why can't we have water bottles, for example, or why can't we have parking places, or what is the reason behind getting rid of packages, or whatever. I get all sorts of questions, which I then very like consciously try to answer based on research, for example, because people really, and these are the questions don't come only from this from the teachers, it's also from the students. Even I was asked also from the student union last week, why do we get rid of water bottles, for example, and you need to be empathic, or show empathy all the time, in order to make people understand that these are small things that matter in sustainable development. Or that the equality question is it's actually a question, it's a challenge, it's not something that is solved in a way or and it's a lot of prejudices in the field. So sometimes the people, I guess, who work in sustainable development areas are sort of squeezed between very different stones, and they in the middle try to break those stones or walls or whatever, and I guess it's also mentally challenging.
I wanted also to add that when you have limited resources, you really have to focus on what's important, and also sometimes you have to explain people why you make certain choices, because sometimes people are like, why don't you work on that, or why do we still have I don't know, bottles, for example, while you are trying to work on mobility or energy. So when you have limited resources, you need to choose, and you also need to explain people why you are doing some choices.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, go.
Thank you. Thank you, both presenters. Presentations have been very, very interesting and meeting my expectations totally. And Inês, I wanted to ask more about switch of paradigm, but when Helen added her comment, I understood that actually this is probably what you meant by switch of paradigm, that we have to change the framework and the conceptual framework of what we do understand under the sustainability. And I also wanted to ask, maybe if I missed that point from Helen's presentation, but is there any conceptual framework under in working process, for example, in Tallinn or overall in management level of bigger cities in Estonia, so that, for example, at least in Tallinn, we would understand in the same way what is sustainability. And you mentioned that you have to answer a lot of emails with the questions like why can't we, or how can we? It would be one potential solution to the problem that getting a lot of questions like those, and instead of that, we could share one common agreed, consensusly agreed conceptual framework, what is sustainability, and communicate that out so that it would have more consensus agreement in society.
Inês, do you want to start answering that? Because you showed the new definition that will be used in your university.
I can say a few words about that. I think, like, for example, in French, we really have a lot of words to say sustainability. And so I think the idea behind it, it's always the same, is to improve the world. So at some point, we just need to choose a term, and I think for the institution to choose what you put behind the term. And so here at our university, we did some background research, and for example, that's where this idea from weak and strong university came, and stronger, sustainability vision came, and we agreed on this definition. But also I wanted to add that since we have a new Vice-Rector for sustainability, it's something that we might need to discuss again. So I would say the important thing is to discuss it with partners, like maybe having, I don't know, working groups, asking the students, asking the staff, and at the end come up with a definition that is used for the university, and let's say that everybody agreed upon.
Can I just add to that as well? So I think there's, when it comes to sustainability in universities, there's kind of two dimensions. So one is kind of the content, and the other is kind of where in the universities do you implement it. In terms of the where, I think it's there's this kind of one common agreement, something that also Inês presented, just kind of that you implement in education, research, community, governance, and operations. These are kind of the dimensions, if you will, of sustainability at universities. When it comes to content, there's a lot of different perspectives, and people kind of disagree. Some kind of like this kind of old Brundtland definition, and others feel that that's kind of outdated and you need something new, and there's kind of different perspectives. Something I personally feel is quite valuable is this idea of 6 capitals. So there's six types of capitals, kind of building on kind of the old economic theory of like the 3 production factors. And so you have these kind of capitals, things like human capital, intellectual capital, financial capital, environmental capital, and then you do something with that. You need that as input for processes, and then you have an impact on the world. So you have a positive or a negative impact in these kind of different dimensions. But that's a bit my personal preference, but there's a lot of different sustainability definitions out there, and different perspectives.
If I may, I can also share my idea. It is the most important question, like how do we define sustainable development? Because if we don't have a common definition, then it's really arbitrary. And here I am. I strongly believe that an organization needs to come up with a joint or an understandable definition, which is understandable for everyone. But for that, you need a discussion so that everybody is involved in a discussion. Now, I have asked also some people who say that this is the only way how you sort of build up consensus. I've asked, like, how do you do that in an organization which is 8,000 people? And then they don't know. They don't know the answer. So because I see it can't come up from upside down. We need to have at least the discussions. We have not had those discussions in Tallinn University yet. And one reason for that is for example, COVID. I would like to have the sort of real life discussions instead of Zoom discussions, but nevertheless we will have one in the coming weeks anyway, in order to go through the principles I am proposing for the university. But I personally see sustainable development more as sustainable transition, and transition is the key word here. That you move towards more sustainable way of being, and for that we need to have a consensus in an organization like Tallinn University or other universities or Tallinn City Council, for example. What are the areas we work on? We can't work. We can't focus on all 17 or 18 sustainable development goals at the same time. Maybe we need to pick out some that are where we target our resources. But let's see how Tallinn University sees it. But I do agree. The most challenging thing is to talk about sustainable development as such, and for that you see also in the global perspective, people talk about climate. Climate is more easily understandable, even it's a very complex problem in the world. Climate is more understandable than sustainable development as such. and many universities have their own climate plans. They have sustainable development strategies, and then they have climate plans as well, or climate regulations. Yes, it's a good question, Erle. And it's very important to raise that question. I was asked that today for the second time. But yes, I don't have a good answer as such. And interestingly, I've been looking at the different universities' regulations in Europe regarding sustainable development, and they don't define sustainable development as such. Very, very seldom. Very seldom. Sustainable development is like a cultural code or social code without any definition.
Thank you, all of you, very much for your inputs, and I hope that soon we somehow will define and see how we understand it at Tallinn University. And I guess we do our baby steps, but still we're going in a good way.
Better than nothing.
Yeah, I would like to share also in the chat like the program of the Green Month, and one of the activities that we're going to do in the following week is to actually give the space to students, academic staff, or whoever wants to be involved in ways how to make Tallinn University green, and actually propose their ideas according to specific thematics that are addressed in sustainable development. And then representatives from the Life Project Council, which is a course program that we have at Tallinn University, and it's compulsory for bachelor and master students. And also Helen will be with us to listen what the people are thinking about it, how they perceive it, and what can be done. But let's travel a little bit more to Central Europe again, and I'm giving the floor to Anselm Grahl, that he's representing the Green Office movement from Netherlands. And Anselm, the floor is yours.
Yeah, thank you. So yeah, I'll present about the Green Office model and movement. So I'm part of Students Organizing for Sustainability International, this organization that does lots of different things, but one of the programs is kind of the Green Office movement. So Green Office movement and model really tries to address an issue that you see at a lot of universities, that there is maybe some activities on sustainability already. There's efforts to do something, but often kind of the different actors that are working on sustainability are not connected with one another, and often also aren't very visible. There's no kind of common direction in a sense. And to try and connect, the Green Office has kind of the goal of trying to connect and align the different sustainability efforts that there are. Of course, still allowing for lots of different perspectives, and you might still have some disagreements about things, but to be connected and to have a kind of a common discussion and common platform. And that's really the goal that establishing a Green Office at a university has. So that's really also what it is. The Green Office is a student-led and staff-supported sustainability platform that aims to work both on community engagement, trying to take the student community, but also the staff community kind of with them, kind of on the sustainability journey, but also to try and work on institutional change and to really get the university to make changes in operations, curriculum, and governance. So the characteristics, kind of what is a Green Office, essentially. So one really key thing is you have students in the core team. So really in kind of the main decision-making team. And at least kind of in the Western world, the idea is also that the students also get paid at least a little bit to compensate for their time. In some circumstances, if money is kind of a bit more difficult, and sometimes they get course credits instead, but they get compensated kind of for their time, just like staff members get compensated as well. Another important characteristic is that there's staff support. So the students, kind of aren't just on their own, but that they get support from staff members, how to navigate the university. Also get kind of a bit of the experience and kind of the network from the staff members can also benefit from that. Then that there's kind of more involvement of students as well through volunteering programs, but also through course projects. The Green Office has also physical office space available to them. So usually Green Office have their own office, but sometimes also shared with other initiatives or other departments. That it has a pay from the university, so that it kind of has an official role to play in the university. So usually it's really a department of the university, and it also gets funding. So funding for salaries for the students, but also to implement projects and to host events and these kinds of things. And that funding usually comes from the university, but in some cases also can come from outside the university, from some external funder. Yeah, and kind of over time, so this is kind of what all Green Offices have in common. And over time, kind of 3 variations developed of this model of how specifically it can be applied. So one option is to really have a student team that consists only of students that kind of runs things on their own, and to have a staff contact. So someone from the staff side who just kind of guides the students, helps them out a bit, but who's not part of the team in that sense, and who's also not the boss, so to speak, of the students. Another option is to have a common team where you have both students and staff who together will then work on making the university more sustainable. And this is more for universities that really have a very large sustainability program, you could also have 2 teams. So actually have a team of staff members working on sustainability, and then a separate student Green Office, and then they work together, but they have somewhat different priorities and are in separate teams. Yeah, so the benefits of a Green Office are really that you have very strong student leadership. It really gives students a seat at the table, and it's kind of a much stronger role that they have than other types of constructs. You have very strong visibility and collaboration of initiatives. So often it's easier for students also to reach the student community and to really make people aware of sustainability on campus. And you have really a structural integration in the organization. So it's something that's there for the long term. When you have round tables or committees or just really active student groups, that can be really powerful, but often, unfortunately, it goes away after some time. And the Green Office is really there for many years, and stays on. And yeah, in that sense, the Green Office really has kind of a unique role, also compared to other possibilities, because it kind of bridges the gap between student community and the university, but it also bridges the gap between policy making and policy execution, and it really kind of provides this central platform. Yes, this was initially developed, this kind of concept at Maastricht University, Netherlands in 2010, and has over time really grown exponentially, and more and more universities are now using this model. At this point, there's now 61 Green Offices in 10 countries, most of them in Europe, mostly also focused in and around the Netherlands. So Netherlands very strongly, and there it's actually more the exception now that a higher university institution doesn't have a Green Office. So all the research universities have one, and most large University of Applied Sciences as well. But also, in Belgium and Germany, it's becoming very, very strong as well. But here and there, also in some countries kind of further away, so in Belarus and Uganda and Brazil and Costa Rica as well, there's now Green Offices. But it's not just the model that's spreading, and that's also, I would say, somewhat unique that you have this kind of combination of a movement and kind of this governance model, because these Green Offices are also in touch with each other and with us, and kind of work together, or at least kind of learn from each other and exchange ideas. That's also something that we offer kind of from the International Green Office movement team. We organize a lot of virtual exchanges before Corona, and hopefully also after Corona. There's also sometimes physical meetings, but because it's also so spread out, actually most of the meetings are virtual anyways. And really offers people from all over Europe and sometimes all over the world to come together and exchange ideas. We provide green office with resources that they can use, kind of best practices from other green offices, from other universities. So if you want to do a project on sustainability in food or waste or in education, then you can find lots of examples of what other green offices have done. We also offer workshops to actually directly kind of coach green office teams. It can be very useful for new teams, but also for existing teams that maybe have specific challenges that they're facing at the moment. So you really have this kind of learning and collaboration movement as well. Yeah, just to give a bit of a sense of what green offices actually do. So green offices really do community engagement and as well as institutional change. To give a few examples, in Wageningen, Netherlands, they give out a Green Teacher Award to honor a lecturer who has really done a lot for sustainability education. In Germany, in Constance, they actually offer kind of extra classes for an accredited online course on sustainability. So students can do that kind of as in addition to their studies, but also actually get credits for it. And Green Office at the University of Amsterdam, sorry, organizes lecture series, but that's also something lots of Green Office do, kind of to inform students about different sustainability topics. Here I have an example in also Netherlands of creating a campus garden where students can grow food. Very popular also offering kind of living lab programs where student research that's being done in courses or also through a bachelor and master thesis actually gets applied to real life sustainability challenges. And we're kind of stakeholders from the university, but also from the local community, from the city, can kind of approach the Green Office and get free or very cheap sustainability research done by students through their course projects. And for the students, it's great because they can tackle a real life research question instead of something more academic. Yeah, this is also something in yes, actually ULB. So where the Green Office organized a really cool game to teach people about waste separation, where people actually had to throw the garbage kind of through the basketball hoops into the right bin. And I actually heard from some people they really learned how to recycle for the first time through this game because it was so fun to play. Green Office Utrecht has a cooperation with local farmers to sell bags of vegetables actually on the university campus. Green Office in Eindhoven, but also actually a few others, played a key role in getting the Fair Trade University certificate for their university and doing all the awareness campaigns that come with it. You can see it's also really nice action from Green Office Ghent, where they went on the city canals to collect waste. Or here in Magdeburg in Germany, also building insect hotels together with local school children. And yeah, a lot of them, of course, organize sustainability days or sustainability weeks as well. But also quite a few work on kind of more policy reporting, these kinds of things as well. That will often depend, of course, on who else is there. If there's staff members also working on sustainability, of course, you work with them as well. Or they might kind of lead the efforts and the Green Office kind of offers their support. Yeah, so this is a bit the idea of kind of what Green Office actually do, what a Green Office is. So now in terms of how do you actually kind of get one, how do you set one up? Basically, Green Office, in the end, they have to get this mandate and usually also the funding from the university. So kind of the university management should approve it in the end, but kind of it can be initiated. The idea can come from students, can come from staff. Sometimes it's a mix of kind of students and staff members together working on this. Sometimes also departments, so maybe an existing sustainability department or certain faculty has the idea of let's set up a Green Office. And we kind of came up with this kind of pyramid of how you you take kind of your first steps. So you can kind of start with supporters, especially if you're kind of, as a student, you can just kind of build a little bit of a group of people that is passionate about this, that wants to make this happen. Then you can kind of move further to middle management and kind of try to get them on board to support you as well, so that you have a little more kind of weight behind you, and they can also give you some feedback on how to maybe best set this up. And then you can, in the end, kind of approach decision makers with kind of your proposal of what you want to set up. But of course, it depends also on your situation, especially how well you know these people already, or how open they are. So if you know people further up in the hierarchy very well already, you can also talk to them directly about it. So this is more kind of the careful approach if you're not sure, if you don't know them very well. And we also give a lot of support on how to actually make this happen. So there's really kind of four steps that we advise to take. And so to first kind of identify what is already there at university, what is kind of the status quo as it is, how could a green office maybe benefit your university, where would it fit in, to then kind of work a little bit on the design, how would you set your green office up, to then work on a pitch, actually figure out why your university should set up a green office, and why also your university management would want that, and then to essentially lobby for it, and to write a proposal and convince your university to make this happen. And we have a free online course that's available on our website, greenofficemovement.org, and there you can kind of find a step-by-step guide for each of those steps, and how to go through it. And yeah, that has kind of lots of tips, and also some further materials how to go about setting up a green office. And yeah, please also do get in touch with us if you have any questions. We're always happy to help. So we're a team of 5 people, some of them employees, some of them volunteers. We're happy to help if you have any questions, but we're also happy to give feedback on green office proposals or kind of concepts that you develop. Yeah, that would be it for my presentation. I'm curious if there's any questions.
I would like to thank you, Anselm, so much for this presentation, because it's very inspirational and motivational. And I have to say, from my perspective, because I have been in contact with you and your colleagues as well, not only for this workshop, for this webinar, but also last year when I was trying to do some things inside Tallinn University and understand what is the situation. And it's quite inspiring, and you're very helpful and responsive. So I'm very glad that you're here with us today to share that. So it's not something that I have found, but it's something that can be shared around Tallinn University, and I'm looking forward to see that established also. And I have to mention once again that for the workshop that we organized, the Let's Make Tallinn University Green, in the registration form you can find also one link that directs to Green Office Movement website, and it includes the projects for giving inspiration about what you have already done. And actually the webinar, the free webinar that you have, is very helpful. Too much praise, but I'm very excited about it. So I had to share that, but please go for your questions.
I might ask a question. How do you motivate students to join the Green Office Challenge? What are the experiences from different universities? And I'm asking you that because I see in the Tallinn University case, the students are motivated in getting maybe credits and do the work through their study programs, but not so much voluntary work. And I haven't sort of seen the voluntary work so far happening. Thank you.
Yeah, so it's usually not that difficult to find students kind of for the core team. So somewhere between 3 and 8 students who are really committed, who would also get a little bit of a salary, and yeah, for them it's kind of a great opportunity in terms of having something on their CV, getting money, but of course also usually these are people who really care about sustainability and who really want to see changes in the university. And kind of once you have this kind of core team of students, they're usually quite good at finding kind of more students who are also willing to work kind of on voluntary projects and kind of contribute in that way. Yeah, so I think that is kind of a key factor, that often students are better at reaching other students than maybe kind of university staff is at doing that. That would be kind of one tip from my side. Something else from volunteering programs is actually we've seen, it surprised me a little bit, that often if you make it a little bit more formal and actually even have like a little bit of an application process for people to join, it actually tends to work better than if you make it really open. At least at a few universities, we've seen that these kind of very formal volunteering programs have worked extremely well, and you saw like 60, 80 students participating in that. Often then combined with the kind of committee structure, so that you say that you have like groups of 5 to 10 students who work on a certain project, maybe a campus garden or organizing some sort of event, and yeah. And they get support usually then from one person from the Green Office who supports them, but kind of mainly the volunteers work on these things on their own. I think that also makes a difference to kind of give them a little bit more, leeway kind of to do their own thing in a sense. Often works better than if you kind of give them specific tasks.
And thank you very much for answering that. I see Hanna-Gerta wants to take the lead. Please go.
Yes, thank you first of all for the presentation. It was very inspiring also, as Katerina said. Well, ironically, I had the question about the other perspective, let's say. I wanted to ask, like, how could students motivate the rectorate and the, let's say, higher levels of university to support students? Because what I see is that we are trying to do with the Student Union of Tallinn University, where I belong, we're trying to put together a document about the green office for the Student Union. And we also have those issues about how to motivate, let's say, higher levels to support us. And this would be the question.
Yeah, so I can recommend taking a look. Wait, I'll just share my screen again.
Meanwhile, I can answer you. You have a vice-rector, just come to me. I'm always open for meetings, and that's the easiest way.
I think, yeah. So I would take a look at this module. So we have this kind of online course module on our website, or also this one. So kind of the pitch and the lobby. You can kind of take a look, and you'll find some good arguments as well for what you can use, and kind of how to structure your argumentation, if you will, and why more should be done on sustainability, or why green office specifically would be a good idea. But also, actually, Helen's right that if you know people, that's always great, and if you can kind of go through a kind of a networking route in a sense, and if you find people who support you, who are kind of have a network in the university, who are respected in a sense, or who are in a more high ranking position, that really helps as well. Yeah, I mean, I think kind of very broadly speaking, that there are kind of certain arguments you can make about why it's important, but in the end also the the university needs to care about sustainability or the university management. And if they do, then I think you can often find a common ground and learn some more about kind of the how. Yeah, sometimes you have to kind of keep on pushing in a sense, but you can usually make something happen. If you're dealing with people who at any point who really don't care about sustainability, then sometimes you just have to find enough people who do to kind of outvote them essentially, or put enough pressure that they change their mind.
Thank you very much for this answer. I just wanted to specify that we are truly lucky to have Helen in our university and this position in general, but we've also often experienced that other universities turn to us. For example, lately was the University of Applied Sciences, if it's correct, Ülikool, who asked for some advice on what to do and how to also organize the things we have been organizing. So I meant it rather as a broader question, because we indeed have this position.
It is challenging. I do agree that especially in the universities where you don't have people as me, and no, I can also say that it's not easy for me to get my voice heard at the university level either. That's why it's good to have student support and student noise as much as possible. That's why I'm saying that I would really like to see more noise from the students. But it's hard for these universities who don't have people up on the rectorate dealing with the sustainable issues. But maybe the good news here is, in terms of Estonia, is that I see that it is my responsibility to build up a network of universities in order to target sustainable development as a vitally important topic, and talk more about study programs dealing with the sustainability, making green offices happen. Especially making green offices happen is to change the behavior of the research staff and teachers to start with. This is something I really want to deal in the nearest future, and by that also supporting the students to let their voices be heard. It's transformation is always a challenge, but it can happen when we have more people. It's really like a revolution. But don't lose hope. It's find your friends.
Yeah, I think it's super important. I've also seen this in many universities that the people who care about sustainability, that they work together and that they're on the same side. Because you have enough people that you have to convince, and so you should stick together.
Yeah, if I may add, I think sometimes the students minimize like the impact they can really have. For example, in our university, with the climate strikes, etc., it really accelerated the commitment from our university to the climate action plan. So there are some, let's say, strategic plans, strategic actions that come from students. Like when students come to me, I always say, then just start, just voice out, and we can see what happens.
Thank you very much for your inputs. I would like to ask something that is related with what you were discussing at the moment regarding, I believe that students do not lack motivation, but because it's something that you do with your heart, and it starts in the first obstacle you find, especially in bureaucratic level, so mostly in management level. And Estonia, could say, is much more advanced. I'm coming from a country that bureaucracy is quite an obstacle for doing things. So it is quite difficult then to keep people motivated and keep people doing things in voluntary basis. And also, if I have to link that in the Green Office movement and model, how an actual volunteering group of students, that they start to do something, let's say in a small impact, and the rectorate or the management is not on their side at the moment, so they have to convince how they can somehow market that as an initial kick for Green Office, to establish an actual Green Office.
Yeah, I hope I understand the question right. Kind of like if you can't get a Green Office initially and you want to get started in some way. Yeah, okay. There's kind of two different strategies, and I mean, you can also choose kind of a middle path between them. So there's some who really put kind of everything on this one card and to say, we're going to try to convince the university to give us the resources and the mandate and to create a Green Office. And we're going to keep on trying, even if it takes several years, basically. And we're going to keep on trying to make this happen. And this is kind of all we do. Maybe in our free time, we do other things for sustainability, but like, yeah, as kind of this Green Office effort, we don't do anything else. And we kind of keep on pushing for Green Office. And there's others who say, okay, if this doesn't work initially, then we're just going to start doing projects, and we're going to try to talk to people, stakeholders in the university, to see what kind of small things we can change just as student volunteers, even if we don't have the official mandate, even if we don't get paid, if we don't have an office, etc. What we can make happen anyways. And at the same time, we continue to kind of push the university a little bit to at some point establish a Green Office. Now there are kind of a handful that ended up giving up a little bit on this idea of a Green Office. So like one that has the resources and has the mandate. So in Germany, there are a couple who kind of call themselves Green Office, but actually they're basically just a voluntary student group who do these things. And personally, I think it's a bit of a shame that they kind of gave up on making this happen. But at the same time, they do quite nice projects. And yeah, but my recommendation would be to kind of find a middle path in that case, and to kind of see if you can make some things already happen kind of on a voluntary basis and without kind of the official approval. And at the same time, you try to convince your university to set it up in a formal way as well. And then actually can also help your argumentation if you can say, look, we already made these things happen. So, you know, we can be trusted basically, and we can be successful, but we could be even more successful, make even more happen if we had kind of the mandate and the resources.
Nice. Thank you very much. You answered my question totally. Thanks. I think that's all. Mostly we don't have other speakers, but if you have any other questions or topics that you would like to discuss, we have still some more time. And as we said, that sustainability is not only about climate, it addresses also other parts of our daily life and other aspects. I have shared something in the chat quite earlier by accident, but it's okay, it's still there. Some sugar traits to nurture ourselves and also to the others. Through that form, you can send a positive note to anyone during this month, this Green Month. A positive note for something that you heard, for a contribution, a nice comment. So to don't spread more sad news or bad, how can I say that, like vibes during this unprecedented times that we all face at the moment, but to continue nurture our well-being and help each other and encourage each other to continue. You can address it to panelists, to organizers, to other attendants and participants. Feel free to do that. All of them, they will be sent after the second half of May. And you can also make it anonymous. So you can just spread happiness without knowing the person who is the one who spreads happiness to him or to her. I would like to thank all of you that attended, and mostly the three unique speakers we have today: Helen Sooväli-Sepping as the Vice-Rector of Tallinn University, Inês Cabrita from Unica Green Network, and Anselm Grahl. I'm so sorry that I'm getting so confused with your name. I'm trying my best, from Green Office Movement. Thank you very much. Oh, Erle, yes, go.
If I may, the last comment. I have been working as a volunteer in Tallinn University for a bit more than 4 years. And I would say that as an enthusiastic volunteer, I don't need to get paid, but I need to see and I need to know that I can make some change. And that is what motivates me. And I think that if there would be a strong and enthusiastic leader of the project, Green University, there will be more followers, and the project should be quite persistent. And those 4 steps that Anselm was introducing are actually crucial in that project, that you have to like follow those, and also some other process and change management systems and tools could be very useful. So I hope that one day there will be like a Green University Club in Tallinn University that will unite the enthusiasts of sustainability development, change management, and environment sustainability projects and everything like that. So thank you very much, and I hope to see this idea growing on from this Green Month event. Thank you.
Thank you so much for this positive note in the end and motivational. Somebody else that would like to share what is the big thing that how you leave today's meeting and today's webinar, what you take with you from that webinar? The panel can also participate.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's just really great to see. Yeah, that's also coming to Estonia. Kind of, I think you see this in different countries, kind of at different speeds, but it's happening everywhere. That the sustainability in universities is becoming more and more important. So also, it's yeah, I'm really glad to see that's happening in Estonia at the moment, and yeah, I'll be curious to see how it develops.
I'm from my side, I could say that students keep on pushing. Fighting for resources is not an easy task if you don't have a pressure from outside. Also on the, let's say, on the budget level in the university, if there is a demand or if there is a strong voice, then things start to happen. That's how I see it from the rectorate, because other issues at the university are sort of usual governance things that have their own budget and have their own regulations. But if you initiate a new strategic field at the university, then you need to see that there is a demand for that. We have a new position at the university, environmental manager. But she will be working only 1 day a week at the university. I'm working half-time. to get more resources for sustainable development, we need to have more voice at the university. Otherwise, things won't happen. How to do that is to talk as much as possible, be heard as this Green Month is happening. For example, this month in Tallinn University. But my question, for example, is how many people know that Green Month is happening in Tallinn University? I asked that from the rectorate today, and the rector knew it, but the others, they didn't say anything. Yeah, more noise is needed. And with that noise, we get resources. That's sort of my message. It's good when students are active. Then it's easier also to make oneself heard.
Thank you very much. I saw that Lisa is unmuted, so maybe you want to add, and we can close with Inês.
Yeah, maybe some words that we have done so many things already in the university. We have had so many nice projects, but these are still very small steps. We need to do very big steps further, and in some cases, yeah, actually, mostly we don't need to think about resources because we have resources here, our mind, our people. And yeah, my message here is that if there is one sentence from Asia that when why is strong enough, then how can manage itself. So we need to work with this how question, not why question anymore. So why question is already so strong to push ourselves.
Why question is still very strong. I have to work on for example, on the institute directors level. Why are we doing this? It's a new compulsory thing again. Why? It's a Helen thing. So I'm convincing. Even the directors of the institute that actually it's not Helen's thing. It's not my personal problem.
Of course. I can clearly understand it. Yeah,
it's a society's thing. But I guess the message here is that the more noise, the better, and be proud what we do. That's another thing. Of course, we are proud, but we need to be more, as with climate strikes.
I think we will run a little bit out of time. So Lisa, you can wrap it up, and I can give the floor to Inês after that.
Yeah, very quickly for me, it was really great to get to know better Tallinn University. So one member of Unica Green Working Group, and to see that we all face the same challenges, and I think sharing good practices, success, but also fails, is a good way to go forward.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, all. I guess we can close that up, and I'm very glad that you have spent these 2 hours together to discuss about these topics. And let's wish for a more green future, not only in Tallinn University, but all over the world. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.